Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for this BFI Film Academy Southwest Recommends Q&A presented by the Watershed in Bristol. I'm Christina Valentine, and today I'll be chatting with filmmaker Eilidh Nicoll about her new short film Silvering, which has been selected for the UK Student Awards at Encounters Film Festival 2021. So let's get started. Can you describe your film in a couple of sentences?
Yeah, I can certainly try. Silvering is a short film which combines 2D digital animation and stop motion animation using handmade paper, and it basically follows a woman as her relaxing evening kind of takes a turn for the sinister when she discovers a grey hair, and that basically provokes sort of a spiral into panic, where the hair becomes her tormentor.
It's a really wonderful film.
Thank you.
Is there anything you would hope the audience takes away from your film?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I guess I didn't really set out hoping to like impart a message or anything, but I suppose it's more of like a representation of certain anxieties, which I guess a lot of us can relate to. So I hope it's relatable in that way. But in terms of what people should come away with, I guess it's more to do with opening up, kind of questioning why we might be so fearful or kind of anxious around, or even disgusted by the idea of aging, especially when it's almost quite futile to resist something so kind of inevitable. So I guess it's more of like an exploration of that, and I guess that's what I want people to take away. So maybe it's more about thinking about, should we acknowledge these things rather than just kind of sweep them under the carpet and pretend like it's not an issue. So I guess it's kind of just hoping to confront my own anxieties in that way, and then hopefully also speak to other people's experiences.
It's really interesting. I think for me, it sort of made me think about how much of like the media and like the beauty industry is sort of sell us this image of ourselves as like what we're supposed to look like, and it's sort of like I feel like only I should know what I want to look like in future, you know.
Yeah, completely.
So your film was part of the This Is Me program. How did this reflect the themes and story that you wanted to tell?
I guess initially I was kind of like the other films in the program are quite different in some ways, but I guess what really ties them all together is that they're kind of dealing with identity, and people kind of either struggling with identity or trying to find their identity in some ways. And I guess my film kind of fits in with that because it's kind of like you were saying there, but we're kind of constantly grappling with people's expectations of what we should be like and what we think others want to see from us. So I guess to kind of be confronted by like your own mortality in the way that my protagonist is, it's again like grappling with identity in that way. And when you're kind of faced with your changing identity, then how do you kind of deal with that? So I guess it's kind of about that, and it kind of also speaks to the struggle of like the changing human body in a way. And so I guess This Is Me refers to like the internal personal struggle of like, who am I, and and what does my kind of changing body um reflect on my identity, things like that. And I think also I guess if you're thinking more of it about it on a kind of societal level, especially is something that women deal with a lot, I think, is I don't necessarily touch on this too much in the film, but it was definitely an underlying thought while I was making it, was I guess from quite a young age you're maybe like sexualized unnecessarily, and then it kind of becomes this thing of when you get old, a lot of women talk about becoming invisible. So I think it's really interesting that there's almost like not really a sweet spot of like being comfortable in yourself, and you're just kind of constantly kind of performing identity in some ways. So it's interesting to think about like how aging intersects with all of that. And I guess that's kind of why it's put in the This Is Me category. And it's really interesting to see it alongside all those other films. Especially I like the kind of relationship between all those different types of struggles with identity, and how so many of us filmmakers seem to focus on the trope of like the hair and thing as a way of talking about your own identity. I think that was really interesting. But yeah, so I guess that's the idea behind it.
Another thing I loved about your film was the way that you sort of presented your protagonist in the nude, but you know, like she was never sexualized or anything like that. It was just like her as she was, just experiencing sort of her own perception of herself and how she like sort of reckons with that. And I think that was a
Yeah,
really great like aspect of your film.
yeah. I guess yeah, that in itself wasn't necessarily I guess it wasn't necessarily a choice because I just thought that was how it should be. But yeah, and I hope that, you know, she's kind of just quite like normal looking. I quite like how as an animated character you can kind of just project onto her. She doesn't have to fulfill any sort of ideas of what a woman should like. She's just kind of, you know, there like you say, not kind of pandering to anyone's like ideas of what someone should look like, and it's just about her relationship with her own body more than anything.
Another great thing was sort of like the suddenness of the change. Like she sort of sees it, doesn't quite notice it, then looks at it again, and then she sort of has to reckon with like, how does this change suddenly affect me when it was something that I wasn't even thinking about at all before. It's sort of like how we sort of go about like our day-to-day lives without ever thinking about like ourselves to such an extent, and then we'll have like our moments of like, oh no, what's happening.
Yeah, completely. I think that's the thing, like I guess I wanted to touch on like how kind of mundane that situation is. It's not particularly interesting or exciting, but when you drill down into it, I guess most of the things that trouble us are like that and can then become a big source of like anxiety or insecurity. Um, so yeah, I guess I wanted to just touch on like how absurd it was, but also by being very kind of normal and mundane.
Very absurd, but very realistic at the same time, I think.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced something like that. Yeah.
So what was your inspiration for venturing into the world of animation?
I guess like a lot of people, obviously, I grew up kind of watching lots of uh, cartoons, I suppose, and like obsessed with the Lion King, things like that growing up. And then I guess as I got older, like a lot of Studio Ghibli, like My Neighbor Totoro was my favorite for such a long time. And Leica films like Coraline and stuff, they kind of really gripped me in a way that I think maybe some live action films didn't. And then I guess I hadn't really considered getting into animation myself until I was about in the process of thinking what's the next step after school. And so I kind of just happened to go to an open day at the course I ended up on, the animation course at Edinburgh College of Art, and just kind of really fell in love with the idea of doing animation because I guess it feels so lucrative in a way. It's kind of like shrouded in mystery almost, and that's part of the joy of it. It's kind of like almost like magical being able to make drawings and stuff move. So yeah, as someone who always really loved kind of like storytelling and films, as well as drawing and making, it just felt like quite a logical thing to do in a way. And yeah, I think as anyone else will say, if they've ever animated anything, it's just so exciting when you see like your own drawings move. So I think that's kind of what got me hooked. And yeah, I hope to continue because as kind of tortuous as it can be, it's really kind of rewarding. So yeah, I think that's kind of why I got into it, I suppose.
It must be like so cool and fulfilling to have like all of those like weeks and months of like work and then finally have this like beautiful like end product. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I guess yeah. Sometimes, obviously, it's frustrating, especially when something doesn't work out, or if the program crashes when you've just like finished a shot, and it can be pretty soul destroying. But yeah, no, I think you're right. It's kind of um, you know, putting effort into anything and then seeing it come together is yeah, a really good way to make things, I think, and just uh, produce films and animation. Yeah.
Also, side note, the Ghibli film Castle in the Sky is like my favorite film of all time. I love it.
I have a cat called Ponyo, so
Oh,
that's a very big inspiration to me. Yeah.
Nice. So what have you enjoyed the most about being a part of Encounters? Do you have any like favorite short films or industry activity that you've taken part in?
Yeah, so I guess I've been working my way through the programs. I want to finish them all obviously before the end of the month. So I've not seen everything yet, but seen some really great stuff. I think of the This Is Me program, I really loved Dragged Up. I thought that was fantastic. And then I can't remember what program this was part of, but there's a film called Push This Button If You Begin to Panic. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's really fantastic. It's a little animated short by I think Gabriel Bomer. Um, and I think it might be my favorite thing that I've seen all year. It's just really fantastic, so would recommend that. Um, but yeah, and then excited to kind of take part in some of the more networking things because I believe on well tomorrow actually there's a kind of virtual networking thing, so I hope to meet some of the other filmmakers there, and yeah, it's really great that they can kind of still be doing that sort of thing even remotely because and I guess that's what that's the joy of having an online film festival. It makes it so much more accessible in a way. um, but yeah, and then there's a lot of kind of industry insight videos up that I think will be pretty invaluable for someone like me who's just starting out in their career, I suppose. And so yeah, I'm gonna definitely watch them and make some notes, which will be really good. So yeah, no, it's been great so far. It's just really exciting to be part of such well, for one, a big festival. There's so many things to see, but everything is of like exceptional quality and it's really brilliant. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Definitely. Most of the films that I watched were in the UK Student Award program, and they were all like outstanding quality.
Yeah,
Those are some of my
completely.
favorites, of course.
Thank you. No, God, it's so strange, like being watching the ones that my films alongside because it's like I'm not worthy, but yeah, no, it's really great. It's so cool to see. I guess especially the kind of emerging talent. Like it's like it'll be really cool to work with some of these people someday and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it's been really cool.
Nice one. So finally, do you have any advice for any aspiring or budding filmmakers or animators out there?
Yeah, I guess if you go down the route of like going to college or uni for animation, they'll always tell you like, they can't overstate the importance of like drawing and things. But I think even if like conventional higher education isn't for you, and it doesn't need to be, I kind of wish I'd maybe taken more time out before uni just to kind of establish what I wanted from it, or from learning animation. But I think the main thing to think about or to focus on is don't kind of let your desire to make like a good film or like a really polished, exciting film stand in the way of experimenting. I think that's maybe prevented me from making in the past because I think often when you do something more experimental or off the cuff, that's what something really interesting comes from. That's maybe where you generate your most interesting or exciting ideas comes from. So yeah, I think definitely that's the thing. Just kind of make things without being fearful of them not being good because you don't need to show anyone the mistakes. There's plenty of things I've made that will never see the light of day, but they've all contributed to making um, or kind of a learning process and coming up with ideas for future projects and things. So yeah, I think that's the main advice I would give. But yeah, I guess just like keep making things.
Yeah, it's the kind of advice I wish I had received when I was younger. Just
Oh,
try. It doesn't have to go anywhere. You can just try.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I think that's the thing. So many people struggle with like perfectionism and just kind of not wanting to do something for fear of not doing amazingly. And you don't always need to be amazing. Just make stuff, and then something amazing will happen. Yeah.
Nice one. Well, I think that is probably all that we'll have time for today. Do you have any like last comments or anything?
I don't think so, really. Just check out all the films on Encounters if you haven't already. And it's been lovely to chat to you.
Thank you so much, Ailey. It's been wonderful to chat to you too.
Thank you.